Hello, and welcome to Adventures in Board Gaming. I'm Shannon, and today we're going to be playing a game of Too Many Bones Undertow. This is the standalone expansion to Too Many Bones by Chip Theory Games. This game plays 1 to 2 players out of the box. However, if you have additional Gearlocs from either the Too Many Bones base set or some add-ons, then you can play this game up to 4 players. This is a cooperative game, and in this game we are going to play 2 Gearlocs, Duster and Stanza. We are on the run from the Gearloc Council, and we are going to be fighting baddies and ultimately trying to beat a tyrant. I have the game set up and ready to go for us, so the first thing that I did was pick one of the tyrants that comes in the box, and today we are playing against Barnacle. Now Barnacle, there's a few different things on this card we want to note. The first thing is what kind of baddies are we going to be facing throughout this adventure. So there's 3 different types of baddies in this game. There's scales, beasts, and goblins, and Barnacle has us fighting all 3. We need to face and defeat Barnacle within 8 days, or else we will not be successful. And we have to have gained 5 progress points before we're able to face Barnacle. Every day, we will be going on a new adventure by drawing a new encounter card. And if we're successful, we will gain progress points. We can also gain loot and trove loot, and we can gain training points, which will let us add skills to our characters and make them even more powerful. After picking a tyrant, you will want to set up your encounter deck, which I have already done. So this consists of general encounter cards. The game comes with 2 different sets of these encounter cards. Most of the time, you'll probably play with this general set, but if you are choosing to play true solo with only 1 Gearloc, you would use the solo set instead. Mixed in with those, we have 2 tyrant encounters that come with Barnacle. Those have been shuffled in. And then the game comes with 4 day 1 and 4 day 2 encounters. We've randomly selected one of each of those and put them on top. And then you'll see that we just have a cover card covering everything, so we don't know what's going to be coming out next. We would also want to be setting up our baddies, and I've already done that. Our regular baddies come in 1 point, 5 point, and 20 point increments. And then there are also some special baddies. We have 3 point Krelm and 3 point mechs that may come out when the game tells us to use them. I have our Gearlocs start setup done as well. So each of our Gearlocs has a specialty, and in this case, each of them gets to start with a die on their mat. So Duster starts out with this Nightshade die. This is actually a die that allows her wolf, Nightshade, to come into battle with her. Stanza, on the other hand, is going to start with her Lutar die, and this is what's going to let her play songs throughout the battle. Every Gearloc has 4 basic stats, and they're up in the corner here. Each Gearloc has a health stat, and that is the maximum amount of HP that they are able to have on them at a time. Now we are going to be playing in Heroic Adventurer mode, which is the 2nd level of difficulty, and that means that we are going to start each of our characters with 1 extra health and 1 extra HP that I have already put on them. The next stat that our Gearlocs have is Dexterity. Dexterity you want to think about as how many action points a Gearloc gets on its turn. You will mostly be using your dexterity to determine how many dice you're going to roll on a turn. However, you can also spend dexterity before you roll your dice in order to move along the mat. And movement and attacking in this game is all orthogonal. The third stat that our characters have is their attack stat. That is the maximum amount of these attack dice that they are able to roll on their turn. And on the same token, each of them has a defense stat, and that is the maximum amount of these defense dice that they are able to roll. So in Duster's case, for example, Duster has 3 dexterity, 2 attack, and 1 defense. So on her turn, she can roll a maximum of 3 dice if she doesn't move. Up to 2 of those can be attack dice, and up to 1 of them can be a defense die. And we will have the chance to increase those stats as we play the game. The other thing that we are able to do in order to power up our Gearlocs is add skill dice to their mat. Whenever we have a training point, we are able to increase one of our base stats, or we're able to take a new skill die and add it to our mat that we can use in each battle going forward. When we're starting off, we are able to take any skill die that has a star beside it, and if a die space doesn't have a star beside it, it usually has an arrow coming from it indicating what the prerequisite is for that space. There are a few as well that do not have either stars or arrows, and they are labeled as consumables. You can't train those skills. You have to find them with loot or fortunate discoveries that you may be able to get in other ways. So since we're playing on Heroic Adventurer mode, each of our characters does get 1 training point before we start the game. In Duster's case, I think what we are going to do is give her another health, because she does not have very much HP. Every time you increase the health stat, you also get to add an HP chip. Now, Stanza is a songsmith. She likes to play songs, but her lute hard doesn't do her any good unless she has some songs to play. So we are going to grab a skill die in the form of a song for her to play. And in this case, I think we're going to go with Under the Old Selfie. And that will just sit on her mat. It doesn't really matter what side is up. And that is the setup of the game. We are ready to begin, and I will explain the rules of the game as we go. So we dive right in, reading our first encounter card. This one is called Eat or Retreat. Success. The escape from Obendar was draining, but now the real struggle begins. Better judgment stands at odds with the stomach's grumbling. Obviously, it's necessary to get as far away from the city walls as possible, but doing so without finding cover to rest a bit and eat may have dire consequences before long. A dissonant symphony of whirring mechs overhead, shouting guards nearby, and a stomach in anguish serves as a reminder that no choice is safe, and this journey is already fraught with hardship. So we turn the card over, and we have 2 choices. This symbol here means that it is a peaceful encounter. There's no combat today. Our first choice is to keep moving, and each Gearloc can gain 1 dex stat, or we can take a few minutes to get a lay of the land before proceeding. This means we would each get a loot, and we would turn over the top baddie chip in each baddie stack. At the bottom, it shows what you will get no matter which option you choose. We're going to get 1 progress of the 5 we need to face Barnacle. We're going to get 1 training point, and we're going to get 1 loot. Now I think that since we're already getting loot down here, I would rather that we gain a dex stat up here. So that's the choice we're going to choose to keep moving. So I will put this down here. And each of our characters are going to get to increase their dexterity. We also each gained a loot from that encounter. So Duster has gained an advanced fishing rod. It's single use, and during individual options of recovery phase, we have an additional option. We can go fishing. We would roll a d6 and replace that number of hit point chips into the Gearloc's prep area as buff HP. And Stanza has got some non-essential oils. This one has 3 uses, and it lets us re-roll our initiative die during battle setup. Normally these cards would go off to the side, but in the interest of saving space, I'm going to put them on their mats for now. Okay, and the last thing that we are gaining today is another skill point, another training point. So we each get to either gain another skill or a base stat. I think that Duster is going to take her dagger. So her dagger is die number 1. I find the die number 1 out of her tray. You can see the number in the top left, and that goes on her mat. Now you can see Stanza over here doesn't have very good base stats. So I think we are going to increase her attack stat. Whenever you are training attack or defense, there is a roll you have to do for that. And since we're training attack, we'll take an attack die and we'll roll that. And as long as we don't get a bone, which is a miss, then we are successful and able to train that stat. If we do get a bone, then we just have to spend that training point elsewhere. We don't lose it. Okay, we were successful, so we are able to increase Stanza's attack stat. Fantastic. And that completes the resolution of this card. We're just going to tuck it underneath our day card so we can see how much progress we've earned. Now we've come to the end of the day. In the end of the day, we get to do a few things. If we had any trove loot, which is locked when it's this side up, we would have an opportunity to try to unlock it. We do not. So the next thing that we can do is trade loot with each other. I don't see any need to trade loot at this time. They'll keep what they have. And then we each get an individual option. So there are 3 individual options. The first thing that they could choose to do is throw out their loot and try for something better. So they would toss this away. They would roll 6 of these attack dice, and they would draw 1 loot for every bone they rolled, and of all the options that they get, they keep 1. It is risky because if you roll no bones, then you still have thrown out your loot. The second thing that they can do is they can rest and recover. This is the option you may want to take if you are not at your maximum HP, but since we haven't gone through battle yet, we do not need to rest and recover. The third option that we get to do is to scout the area. Scouting the area lets us see what baddies might be coming up and either choose to leave them on the top of their stack or put them to the back of the stack and avoiding them. Now, Duster is going to make a roll to see which baddie stack she can scout, If she rolls a 1, 2, or a 3, then she's scouting the 1-point baddie stack. If it's a 4 or a 5, then she can scout up to the 5-point baddie stack. And if she rolls a 6, then she can scout up to the 20-point baddie stack. She has rolled a 1, so we are looking at a 1-point baddie. So, we have drawn a chimp acrobat. Now we can see that this chimp acrobat has 2 hit points. It has an initiative of 4, and the higher the better with this. We can see that it has 2 swords here. That means that it's a melee fighter, and it's part of the beast group of baddies. He rolls 1 attack die on his turn. He also has 2 abilities, Blind Strike and Dodge. Blind Strike means that before he moves, he is going to deal 1 damage to the strongest unit that is adjacent to him. Strongest as in the most hit points. And Dodge means that you cannot reduce his hit points with attack dice. So we have to find other ways to reduce his hit points. And this target here shows who he will target. Now, because he's melee, he's always just going to go for the closest unit to him. If he's already adjacent to someone, he's not going to attack that. But if he's not, and he needs to choose between a target, he will target the weakest, the person with the lowest hit points. I am not feeling great about fighting something with dodge when we have so little skills, so I'm going to put this to the back of the stack. Okay, and now it is Stanza's turn to roll. Stanza rolled a 3, so again we're scouting this 1-point stack, and this time we have found a Dragon Biddy. So again, it's 3 hit points, it's 4 initiative, it is melee. This time you can see it's targeting the strongest Gearloc to break ties. It's a scale type with 1 attack, and it has weaken 1. That means whatever it is targeted, it is going to put a weaken 1 status dice on it, and that Gearloc is going to have 1 less dexterity on its next turn. I think that we can take this Dragon Biddy, so I'm going to leave that in front. It stays face up so that we know what we're fighting next time we go into battle. And that is the end of our first day. So what we will do is tick our day counter forward to day 2, and we'll draw the next encounter card. This encounter card is called Fish and Gearloc Stink After 2 Days. The sewer is now miles back, and the river is just ahead. As luck would have it, a perfectly serviceable raft is tethered to the bank to a young stadru sapling. Its owner is nowhere in sight, but hopefully he won't mind that his vessel was commandeered for a good cause. There's still the question of what to do about these ripe-smelling Gearloc clothes, though. The more time spent washing up at the shore, the greater the chances of a mech assault, but the Sibron's fearsome crown can detect rancid smells a mile away. So we flip it over, and again we have 2 choices, but you can see the different symbol up here in the corner. This one means that it is going to be a battle. Both of these will be a battle, and you can see there's a small symbol here. This one means it'll be a water battle. We'll be flipping our mat over. This one means it'll be a land battle. So if we decide to go to the raft, we will fight BQ baddie points, including crown. BQ baddie points means that we multiply the number of Gearlocs we're playing with times the number of days we're currently on, and we make up our battle queue using the highest baddies possible. Now, including crown means that we need to include one of those 3-point crowns in there. So in this case, we have 2 Gearlocs, it's day 2, 4 baddie points, and 3 of those baddie points will be a crown, so we would fight 1 crown and 1 1-point baddie. The crown appears injured from a recent scuffle with another one of its kind. When crown enters the battle mat, it does so with half its HP rounded down. Or we could freshen up. The mech approaches the area with its guards down. Again, we're doing a BQ baddie points, this time including a mech. And when the mech enters the battle mat, it does not have any defense up on it. We would ignore that stat. I think we would like to stick to the land for now, so we are going to go with let's freshen up. So we will be fighting a 1-pointer, and we already know who that will be. Now mechs, when they enter the baddie queue, they always go to the bottom. So this is going to be our stack of baddies we'll be facing. When we put these out, we always go from the top of the stack, and the first one is going to go in the lane marked 1. We're going to take the lane marker that's also that color in marked 1 and put it underneath. And then we're going to take the amount of hit points shown on the baddie underneath that. And baddies that are labeled melee are going to go in the melee lane. And then we will take the die, the initiative die that marks that color, and we'll set it to what this character's initiative is. And we're going to do sort of the same with our mech. Our mech is going to get the lane 2 chip underneath it, and its 2 chips underneath that. But mechs do not start in the normal baddie lanes. We actually roll our d6. So I'll do that. And this mech is going to start in the outer lane 3. Okay, and let's take a look at this mech's stats. So it has 2 hit points. It's going to have an initiative of 4, so we'll put that in. Whenever the baddies tie on initiative, the lane marker breaks the tie, so 1 goes before 2. This one is melee. It is going to roll 1 attack die, and this symbol means it would start with 3 defense on it. However, our encounter card told us to ignore that. It has self-repair 1. That means that if it is down in lower than this 3 stat of defense, it's going to heal 1 of those. It also has swap. So after it has attacked, it is going to swap spots with the strongest opposing unit that it is adjacent to. Okay, now that our baddies are on the mat, we can put our Gearlocs on the mat. We're going to place Duster and Stanza. Now Stanza is a melee character, so she needs to go in one of the 4 Gearloc melee spots. And I think that Stanza is going to face, I think we'll have Stanza face the mech over here. Duster has a bit of an advantage when she's going on the battle mat. She can go in any spot. It's her special ability. So in this case, I think that we do not want her near the mech. We'd rather have her fighting this this dragon biddy. So we're going to put her there. Now, Duster's Nightshade does not get to come out right now. Nightshade only comes into play if Duster is down in health points, and right now she's at full. So if we ever end a round when she's down in health points, then she is going to get a chance to call in her wolf. And that is one of the reasons that I am placing her over here instead of here, because the wolf is a melee, so the wolf will come out here, and I would like it to come out beside this dragon if it does come out and play. Now that we have placed our Gearlocs on the mat, we actually should have rolled for initiative first. So I will do that now. Okay, anytime the Gearlocs are tied with the baddies, they get to go first. And Stanza is going to go last in initiative, unfortunately. And the other thing we need to do as part of setup is Stanza needs to roll her Lutar die. She actually should have rolled this before we set up the battle as well. So she has 3 focus, and I will explain what that means when we get to her turn. Okay, so we have our battle set up, and we will commence. Duster gets to go first, and we can see that Duster has 4 dexterity, meaning she can roll up to 4 dice if she doesn't move. She has a maximum stat of 2 attack dice she can roll, 1 defense, and we're also going to have her roll her dagger. Her dagger has a special ability that can possibly make the baddies bleed. And bleeding means that on their turn they'll just take a true damage. And if she rolls 1 with a number on it, then it'll also take that amount of damage when it hits. So we would roll these and apply what we would like to apply. So she has rolled 2 defense, which is great. Defense goes up in active slots. And now if she were to be hit for damage, we would take it out of her defense instead of off of her hit points. She has rolled 2 hits, and she's rolled an additional 2 hits with her bleed die. We have the choice to either resolve these or not, and we are going to resolve all 3 of them, doing 4 damage to this dragon, and we have taken it out before it has even gotten a turn. This skill die has been used. Once skills have been used, they do go over to the exhausted side of the mat, and they're not usable again until the next battle. Okay, the blue die is going to come out of initiative because that baddie has been defeated. And we go on to the mech darter. It is going to get its turn now. So the mech darter has self-repair and swap. It is going to get to self-repair, so it's going to put up 1 shield, and it's going to roll 1 attack die against Stanza. And it has hit Stanza. Since Stanza doesn't have any defense up, she is going to take 1 damage, and we take a hit point off of her. And now it is Stanza's turn. Stanza is going to try to attack this mech darter, but first she's going to deal with her songs. The way that she works, when she starts out her turn, she can get her songs ready. The only song that she has right now is this Under the Old Zelfie. And we can see that if we play this song, it will give her 1 buff HP. The S means she uses it on herself. And this symbol here means it requires 1 focus. We don't need to worry about this stat for now. That's if we're rolling the die to gain focus, and we're not. So with a song, you have 3 choices. If you have not put it into play yet, then you can start it off, which is what I'm going to do. The focus is not a cost. I don't spend that focus. I just need to make sure that I have enough. On my next turn, with that song there, I would have 3 choices. I could either advance it to the next side, which is going to cost 2 focus, or I could vamp it and sort of put it into a resting state for now, which requires 1 focus, and then following that would be able to start it off at the beginning again, or I could just exhaust it and be done with it. But we are going to put it on that side, and we have enough focus for that. That costs us 1 of our dexterity. So we have 3 dexterity left. We really would like to take out this mech darter, so we're going to roll our 2 attacks and our 1 defense against him. Okay, fantastic. Now we rolled a bone on our defense. It does not count as defense, but one of the great things about this game is that bones have a use. You can slot them into your backup plan, and you can use these dice to do special abilities. With 1 bone in our backup plan, I could choose to increase my lutar by 1 focus, and I would spend this, which I am going to do. I've done 3 points of damage, so 1 comes off of the defense, and then 2 come off of the mech, and we are done. Now, I could also have gained that 1 buff HP from my song, but buff HP does not last between battles, so there's no point in taking it because it will just go away. Now that the battle is completed, we're going to put our characters back on their own prep areas, and all of the dice that we used and exhausted are going to go back on our mats where they came from. The exception to that would be any dice in our locked slots. Those would get to last between battle, but everything else goes back. I put them on the wrong mats. Okay. So at the end of the battle, we get to collect our rewards if we were successful. Today, we have gained 2 training points and a loot for completing this battle. So first we'll grab our loot. Duster gets some loose wires. We can increase our dex by 1 for a single battle. And Stanza is going to have a hunting net. It's single use. It lets us remove a 1 point or 5 point baddie from the current battle and place it on this card. And then the baddie has to be defeated prior to the Tyrant battle, so we can place it back at the bottom of the BQ of any future battle. Interesting. And then we each get 2 training points. Looking at Duster, I think that what I would like to do is start training Nightshade. Nightshade has its own skill tree, and the first one of that is Promise of Prey. So we're going to take that, die number 14, and put it on the mat. And I think the next thing we're going to train is we're going to try for an additional defense. So in this case, we would roll a defense die. So attack and defense you have to train for. With defense, you roll a defense die. You get 1 reroll of any bones. And if you get no bones after that, you are successful. Okay, no bones. So I'm able to increase my defense. Coming over to Stanza, I think that we would like to get at least 1 more song. First, we will train our defense, though. So we did roll a bone, so we get 1 reroll on that. And we were successful. So Stanza is going to get a defense. And then we're going to train a song. And I think that what we would like to train is Siege of the Charon. So that's die 11. And we'll put that on our mat. Okay, they have both gotten all of their rewards for the day. The final reward is that 1 progress, so we are going to tuck that underneath our mat to show that we have it. And only 3 progress more before we are able to fight Barnacle. End of the day, we have our end of day choices again. We have no trove loot to unlock. We could trade loot if we would like to, and I think that would be a good idea. It's never a bad idea for Stanza to have some extra loot. And Duster, being a bit of an assassin, would probably like to have that hunting net. So we'll trade those 2 loots. And then finally, we can either rest or recover, try for new loot, or scout the area. Duster is at full health at 5, and Stanza is actually down a health at 5. So Stanza is going to rest and recover, while Duster scouts the area. So she rolls a die. This time she rolled a 5. We can scout up to a 5-point baddie, and I think that's the stack we're going to look at. So we have a Chimp Sentinel. This is 4 hit points. It has 6 dexterity, so the highest dexterity it could have. It's melee, and it has dodge 1 mind. Dodge again means you cannot reduce his hit points with attack dice. 1 mind means that every other beast type on the battle mat gets to, at this time, roll 1 attack die against its target. And then he is also going to roll 2 attack dice and 1 defense die. I am still not feeling great about having dodge baddies this early in the game, because we don't have a lot of skills to attack other than our attack dice. So I am going to put this in the back. And that is the end of day 2. Thank you for joining me, and we will be back with the next video shortly.